Hello guys, here I am cutting my mom's hair. I've already pre-sectioned the hair and I'm using my fingers as a guide to cut each section. It's really important that you're brushing each section smooth. That way there's no kinks in the hair so you get a nice precise cut. Once you finish cutting one section, you leave a small portion of that still in your hand and you take a new section there and add to that. That way when you brush it down, you know exactly the spot you need to cut so it balances and evens out with the other portion of the hair. You want to make sure your client is slightly tilting their chin down when you're cutting. That way the bottom portion doesn't become longer than the top. Now I finished cutting the first section here. I'm going to take another new section here and I'm going to brush it down over the old section and use the first cut hair as my guide for the next step. Again, just brushing it really well, smoothing the hair together, getting all kinks and curls out of it. Now sometimes you have to keep spraying the hair as you're cutting to make sure it brushes really well and smooth. Now you can see here that I do have a guide now. You can see there are some hair that is longer than the base portion. So when you smooth that together, you know exactly where to start your cutting. Now I finished cutting the back portion of the hair. I'm going to be working on the sides of the head now, taking diagonal forward slices and bringing it back towards the back of the hair. Now that back hair will become my guide for the front pieces here. Again, brushing out all the tangles, getting it nice and smooth. Last thing you want is an uneven haircut. Wouldn't be very flattering. Now I'm using the Camisori double swivel 6-inch shears here. These are my favorite and they're ergonomically supposed to be the best type for your hands. I've just had my client reposition herself as the silly backrest of the chair is in my way and I don't want it to interrupt my haircut here. Once I cut this nice and even, I'll be moving on to the layering sections. Now I'm just doing some kind of light top layers here, nothing too crazy and layered, just taking kind of from middle of the head up, and I'll be adding the layers into that portion of it, just so we keep some volume and thickness towards the ends of the hair. Sorry guys for blocking the camera there for a minute. I'm just feeling the hair, seeing how the hair falls on itself, making sure things are looking good. Now it's time to separate the hair again and start those layers. You want to section the hair off from just around the ear forward, and you're going to be pinning that out of the way and doing the same on the other side. Next, I'll be starting from a section in the middle. I'm going to take a portion directly from the center here, and I'm going to go down the head halfway. I'm going to be sliding my hands through the hair all the way up, pulling it to an angle so your fingers point the ceiling. Sorry y'all, just trying to get the perfect angle for you guys to still see. See here, I'm taking a nice clean section, pulling it up to an angle, making my fingertips higher than my wrist to cut on that angle. You'll see I'm using that old section now, and I've taken a new section. I'm going to be brushing it really well through to make sure all the tangles are out. Now with your guide, the new hair should be longer than the guide, so you cut anything longer than that guide now. Now you want to make sure not to drop any of your sections here. You keep all of it in your hands. You only keep adding new hair, pulling it up nice and smooth, and using the old hair as the guide every time. Every new section you take, you're still over directing your haircut to the middle. I'm going to be starting the same thing on the other side, so I'm going to keep that middle section and add the new section from the other side of the head into that same section to make sure we get a nice even haircut. So Sorry to be in the way of the camera again. I'll just slowly shimmy over. So now you see I have that same section. I'm taking a new section now and I'm going to be directing that towards the middle again and cutting it to that guide from the other side. Now this time it's going to be opposite. You want your wrist to be higher than your fingertips at this point. So when you're pulling the hair up, smoothing it with the comb, you're going to be angling your wrist higher than your fingertips for the opposite side. So fast forward, we're now going to work on the front of the hair, working on the bangs here. I'm going to be taking a zigzag section here. I'm going to be point cutting this just to add some texture into the bangs. See, I'm using my comb to hold the hair and I'm just point cutting very slowly. Just making it a little bit more wispy, not as heavy and blunt. Giving it a softer appearance here. Just kind of evening it out, getting any jagged pieces. Again, back to some point cutting, breaking it up, making it soft, more feminine looking. Now I pre-dried the bangs before I started cutting it because the worst thing you could do is cut the bangs wet and then sometimes they shrivel up and then they're way too short. So I always cut bangs dry just so I can see exactly where they fall. Now that is how I cut her hair today. She wants to let it dry naturally, so I am all finished. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe to my channel. I would truly appreciate it. Thank you so much from my heart to yours. All the best. It's your girl, EvaStormXox.